I died that night. Not literally, but something inside me shattered the moment I saw the video. Him, on one knee, holding out a ring. To her. My best friend. My ex-girlfriend. And me? I was lying in a hospital bed, tubes in my arms, fighting to breathe, while the two people I trusted most turned my world into a cruel joke. They thought I wouldn't find out, that maybe I wouldn't wake up. But I did, and the first thing I saw wasn't my mother's face or a doctor's smile. It was betrayal. Someone had sent the clip anonymously, just a 15-second video, no caption, no explanation. But it was enough. The rooftop view I knew so well, my favorite place in the city, her in that blue dress I once bought her, and him, my so-called brother in everything but blood, smiling like he hadn't just stepped on my grave. "Say yes," he whispered in the video, like he wasn't stealing the only woman I ever loved. And she did. She said it. Yes. Just like that, my pulse on the monitor spiked. The nurse thought it was the medication reacting. It was heartbreak. This wasn't just a breakup. It wasn't just a betrayal. This was war, and I was coming back from the dead. My name is Ayan Malik, 32 years old, architect, and apparently the last to know that my life was built on lies. Rehan and I had been best friends since we were 9. I met him the day he got transferred to my school. Skinny, quiet kid with a bruise under his eye and no lunchbox. I gave him half of mine, and from that day on, we were inseparable. He became family. Sleepovers, holidays, matching motorbikes, the kind of friendship people envy. He even called my mother Ami, and she adored him like a second son. We had a bond that felt unbreakable, loyal, solid, until Meher came along. I met her at an exhibition I was designing. She wore a white kurti and glasses too big for her face, talking to a canvas like it had hurt her feelings. I remember smiling, thinking, who is this oddball? She caught me staring and said, either buy it or stop judging it. I fell hard. Meher wasn't just beautiful. She was chaos in a world I tried to control. Passionate, fierce, honest to a fault. She called my obsession with symmetry boring, and yet she'd fall asleep on my sketches like they were lullabies. We were together for 3 years. Laughter, late-night drives, stupid fights, and apologies whispered over chai. I thought she was the one. So did Rehan. He was there through everything. Our first anniversary dinner, the time Meher got the flu, and I panicked like an idiot. Even the night I was going to propose. But chickened out. When we fought, Rehan always told me, "You two are fire and fuel, meant to burn bright." He knew everything, every crack in our relationship, every doubt I ever whispered. And maybe that was my mistake. Because when Meher and I broke up, after a brutal fight over nothing and everything, I never expected him to cross the line. I blamed myself for the breakup. Maybe I wasn't good enough. Maybe I didn't listen enough. I gave her space. I gave her time. But what I didn't know was that while I was giving her space, Rehan was filling it. And while I was in the ICU after a near-fatal accident, learning how to walk again, he was slipping a ring on her finger. The same ring I once showed him. The one I designed for her. I wasn't just betrayed. I was replaced. The accident happened on a rainy Tuesday. I was driving back from a site visit, tired and frustrated. My phone buzzed with a message from Rehan. "You need to let her go, bro. It's been months." I never replied. 10 minutes later, a truck lost control at an intersection. I don't remember much, just headlights, a loud screech, and the sensation of being weightless. Then, nothing. I was in a coma for 6 days. When I woke up, I couldn't move my right leg. Doctors spoke in clipped tones. My mother wept quietly when she thought I couldn't hear. They weren't sure I'd ever walk without a cane. But none of that hurt as much as what came next. 3 weeks into my recovery, someone left a flash drive on my hospital tray. No name, no message, just a silver USB, slightly scratched. Curious, I asked the nurse to plug it into my laptop. There was only one file. Proposal.move. It was grainy, shaky, clearly shot from a phone hidden behind something, but the people in it were clear as day. Meher, Rehan, my ex, my best friend. They stood on the rooftop of the hotel where I once planned to propose. She wore that same blue dress I gave her for her birthday. His hand was in his pocket, nervous, smiling, and then he dropped to one knee. Meher, I know this isn't perfect. I know the timing's been messy, but I've loved you for a long time, maybe longer than I should have. Will you marry me? I couldn't breathe. I waited, hoped, for her to walk away, slap him, say something that would make sense of the chaos building in my chest. But instead, she smiled and said, yes. I slammed the laptop shut so hard the nurse jumped. My chest felt tight, like something was pressing down on it. The heart monitor beeped furiously. Everyone rushed in thinking I was in pain. They didn't know it was betrayal that was crushing me, not my broken ribs. Rehan hadn't visited once since the accident. Not even a message. Meher either. Now I knew why. While I was learning to breathe again, they were learning to love each other, publicly, proudly, like I'd never even existed. I wanted to believe it was fake, a prank, a misunderstanding. But deep down, I knew better. The real twist? They'd used my dream. That rooftop? I'd told Rehan years ago it was where I wanted to propose to Meher. The dress? I designed it with her favorite shade of blue in mind. The ring? That was mine. Custom made. I showed it to Rehan months before the breakup, asked for his opinion. He told me it was perfect. I should have known. I should have seen it. But when you trust someone with your whole heart, you never expect them to steal it. For days, I didn't say a word. Not to my mother, not to the doctors, not even to myself. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, the walls, the fading flowers on my bedside table. The room reeked of disinfectant and betrayal. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that video. Meher laughing, Rehan kneeling, her fingers sliding into my ring. I didn't want to believe it. I couldn't. This had to be a dream, or a cruel trick played by some jealous ex-friend. Maybe someone edited the video, maybe they were acting, maybe it wasn't even real. But then the news came through the grapevine. Quiet whispers from nurses, overheard calls. Rehan Karim, the architect guy? Yeah, he's engaged now, to some artist named Meher Aftab. My stomach twisted. It was real. Everything was real, and I had no idea how to deal with it. Some days, I stared at my phone for hours. Their numbers were still saved. I typed messages. Angry, heartbroken, pleading, but never hit send. What would I even say? Hey, congrats on the engagement. Just one thing. How long have you been stabbing me in the back? Pathetic. Other days, rage simmered in my veins. I imagined showing up at their engagement party, cane in hand, dragging my broken body into the center of the celebration, just to ask, did either of you think I'd survive long enough to see this? But then guilt would creep in. What if it was my fault? What if Rehan had only stepped in because he thought I was gone? What if Meher was truly done with me, and I was just clinging to memories? I remember once, in the middle of the night, I called Zara, Rehan's younger sister. She always liked me more than her own brother, oddly enough. She picked up after one ring. Ayan! Her voice cracked. Oh my God, I've been trying to reach you. How are you? I'm alive, I said coldly. Apparently, that's inconvenient for some people. There was silence. Then she whispered, You know, don't you? I didn't answer. I told him it was wrong, she said quietly. I told him Meher wasn't his to love. But he said you were gone, that you'd never wake up. He didn't even wait for the funeral, I muttered. She sighed. He's not the same anymore. Not since you got hurt. He's different, cold, obsessive. Is she happy? I asked before I could stop myself. Zara hesitated. I don't know, she finally said. She looks happy, but she never talks about you, almost like she's pretending you never existed. That was worse than anger, worse than hate. It was erasure. Like I had died, and they buried the memory before my body was even cold. I hung up. That night, I stood, wobbly, sweating, using the hospital wall for balance. But I stood. For the first time in weeks, I looked in the mirror, pale, scarred, weak, but not broken, not yet. I whispered to my reflection, you lost the girl. You lost the friend, but you didn't lose yourself. And that's when I made the decision. I wouldn't text. I wouldn't call. I wouldn't confront them right away. I'd heal first, quietly. I'd disappear, let them believe they won. And then, when they least expected it, I'd return. Not for revenge, but for answers. Because something about this didn't add up. Something about how fast it happened. How secretive they were. The ring. The timing. There was more to this story. And I wasn't done reading. 3 months later, I walked out of the hospital. Leaning on a cane, yes, but walking. Rehabilitation had been brutal. Every step felt like punishment, a reminder of how much I'd lost. But pain was a great motivator. I fueled every exercise with rage, betrayal, and the ghost of that rooftop proposal. Everyone thought I'd moved out of the city to recover. They didn't know I'd moved back silently. I didn't tell anyone. Not my mother. Not old friends. Not them. I wanted to see them with my own eyes, not through rumors or filtered social media photos. I needed the truth, raw, undeniable. So, one foggy Sunday morning, I stood across the street from the gallery Meher used to work at. A new exhibit had just launched. Her name was on the flyer, Meher Aftab, Fragments of Light. Fitting? Because she had shattered me into pieces, and now she was selling the fragments. I expected to see her glowing, engaged, thriving. But when she walked out with Rehan beside her, something didn't fit. She looked tense, eyes scanning the crowd like she was trying to disappear. Her smile was forced, stiff. And Rehan? He had his arm around her waist, but she flinched when he whispered in her ear. I ducked behind a delivery van, heart pounding. Something was off. Later that night, I made the mistake of checking his Instagram. They'd posted a photo from the gallery, her head on his shoulder, both of them grinning. But the caption chilled me. From brothers to soulmates, when fate corrects its mistake. Brothers to soulmates? What the hell did that mean? The next day, I did something reckless. I texted her from a new number. I saw the gallery. You looked beautiful, but not happy. I expected her to block me, or ignore me, or worse, tell Rehan. But instead, she replied, "Who is this?" I hesitated, then typed, "The man you left behind, but I'm not angry. I just need the truth." 3 dots blinked, then disappeared. Then came her reply. "Meet me. One time? Alone?" She sent a location. Not the gallery, not a cafe. It was the old studio she used to rent before we ever dated. A run-down little art space on the edge of town. I arrived early, my heart threatening to crack my ribs. When she walked in, she looked older, tired. But when her eyes met mine, she gasped. "Ayan," she whispered, "you're alive." Surprised? She stepped back, covering her mouth. He said, He said you might never walk again, that you'd never want to see me. I laughed bitterly. Did you want to see me, Meher? Tears welled in her eyes. Then came the words I never expected. I never said yes to him. I blinked. What? That video, he staged it. He told me it was for a film project. He never told me you were alive. He lied, Ayan, about everything. He told me you were brain dead, Meher whispered, eyes wide with trembling guilt. He said your mother signed a DNR, that there was no hope, that it was time to move on. My chest heaved. I felt the world tilt sideways. And you believed him? I didn't want to, she cried. But no one would talk to me. He said your family had cut me off. He showed me a photo, your hand hooked up to wires, your eyes shut, and said it was time to let go. I staggered back. So, what? You just agreed to marry him out of grief? No, I never agreed, she snapped, then immediately softened. He brought a photographer to that rooftop and said it was a theatrical performance for healing. I thought, maybe he just needed closure. She paused. I didn't know it would go viral. I didn't know he would post it like I said yes. My throat tightened. You didn't love him? She shook her head. I never stopped loving you. Silence. Thick. Suffocating. And then she stepped closer. I begged him to take it down. He refused, said it was too late, that everyone believed we were together, that if I left, it would make him look like the villain. He is the villain, I growled. She nodded slowly. He changed after your accident. He started showing up everywhere, controlling who I talked to. He even blocked your mother's number on my phone. Said she didn't want to see me again. My fists clenched. All this time, I thought they'd betrayed me together. But the real betrayal was deeper, calculated, cruel. He took advantage of your grief, I whispered, and my absence. Meher looked down. I was so lost, Ayan. I didn't know what was real anymore, until I got that message. When I saw your name, it felt like someone pulled me back from a nightmare. My chest burned. I wanted to hold her, scream at her, run from her, but I did none of those. Instead, I said, we need to end this. Properly. Publicly. She looked up. What do you mean? I mean we confront him. Together. That night, Rehan came home to find us both sitting in his apartment. He froze. The ring box fell from his hand. You! He spat. You were supposed to die? I finished. His eyes darted to Meher. He's lying. He's manipulating you. She stepped forward. Number you are. You lied about everything. Rehan laughed hollowly. Oh, please, Meher. Don't act like you didn't enjoy being with me while he was gone. He left you. I was here. I loved you. No, she snapped. You used me. There's a difference. He looked at me, hatred twisting his face. I gave you everything, Ayan. And you always had more. Friends, talent, her. I was just the shadow. And that's where you belong, I said coldly. He lunged at me, rage bursting like a dam, but I stepped aside. He crashed into the coffee table, breathless. I could press charges, I said, but I won't. He looked up, eyes wild. Why? Because I want you to live with this. The world will know who you are, and you will know you never had what you wanted. Meher slipped off the ring, dropped it beside him, and we walked out. Not together, not yet, but finally, free. It took weeks for the truth to come out. The video, the fake engagement, the manipulation. Zara helped leak the full story anonymously. Screenshots, messages, voicemails Meher had saved. Everything Rehan had hidden so carefully, laid bare. The media devoured it. Architect stages fake engagement with best friend's girlfriend after tragic accident. Heartbroken artist speaks out after waking, coma survivor returns. People finally saw Rayhan for who he was, not the grieving best friend, but the puppet master behind a carefully crafted lie. His business took a hit. Clients dropped him. His name was scorched across the internet. But revenge was never the goal. I didn't want to destroy him. I just wanted the truth back. And now that I had it, all that remained was silence. Meher and I didn't jump back into anything. Too much damage, too much pain. We met a few times, awkward coffees, long walks, quiet talks. Sometimes we laughed. Other times, we just sat in silence. The love was there, but now, so was the hurt. She told me everything, how she cried every night for a month after the accident, how she kept painting, hoping I'd come back, how she hated herself for even considering Rayhan's comfort. And I told her how I hated her for moving on until I realized she never really did. Some things can be forgiven. Others take time. One afternoon, as we sat by the lake where we used to go before everything, she reached into her bag and handed me a sketchbook. The title said, "Things I Never Said." Inside were dozens of pencil sketches. Me in every stage of healing. Me in the hospital. Me staring at the sky. Me walking again. She had drawn me from memory, imagination, hope. "You were never gone in here," she whispered, tapping her temple. I held the book close, eyes stinging. "I don't know if we can go back," I said honestly. She nodded. "Maybe we're not meant to." We both smiled. "But maybe we can go forward, as something new." 6 months later, I opened a small studio of my own. It wasn't grand, but it was mine. A place where I could rebuild. Not just my career, but myself. Meher dropped by sometimes with coffee and fresh canvases. We never labeled what we were. We just existed beside each other. Two people who had survived something brutal and made it out breathing. As for Rayhan, last I heard, he moved to another city. Tried to restart. Tried to erase the scandal. But some shadows don't leave. And some people, like him, never understand the cost of betrayal until they lose everything that mattered. One evening, as I locked up the studio, I saw Meher across the street, waiting in the golden hue of sunset. She waved. I waved back, and I realized love isn't always a grand gesture or a perfect ending. Sometimes love is standing in the wreckage and choosing to build again, even if it's slower, even if it hurts. Because healing isn't forgetting, it's remembering without bleeding. And just like that, the two people I trusted most taught me something I never wanted to learn. Sometimes the biggest heartbreaks come not from enemies, but from those who once swore they'd never leave. But I didn't just survive. I lived, and I chose peace over revenge. That was the day I truly came back to life.